Good morning, everyone. How you doing today? Let's just check on this. Going to check on the audio here a minute or two. So, we did our first coffee in Final Cut Pro last Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And it looks like we had over 600, 700 views in the last week. So that's pretty cool. I'm really glad that that's happening. It's a lot of people just tuning in. Everybody seems to be a good time for Europe. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The West Coast, they 7 o'clock in the morning. They can get up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. It's 10 a.m. on the East Coast here. Of course, the good old USA. And just wanted to check, make sure we're having no issue. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, we're over here. Here we are. Good morning. Yeah, everything's looking good there. And we have the comments are coming in smoothly. You know, it's really weird. It's like every time I do something else weird happens. So I have two different cam links, USB goes in HDMI here to USB out to the computer. For some reason, I think it's this one. It's as a 4K. Both of them are 4K, but one of them says 4K and one of them doesn't. One of them, I'm not sure if that's what it is, but when I'm setting up, it like freezes like a white frame or a glitch frame or something. This one I have plugged in now is not doing it. I have multiple ones. This is a generic one that I got on Amazon, and this one works fine. So I have this as a spare. I have two Camlink 4Ks, and I have some kind of a little bigger box that I can use if I need to. But it's like always something. So this is working really, really good. I'm really pleased with this fresh install of Ventura. I did a complete fresh, right from the ground. Nothing installed, and it's working really, really good. Now, I am on Ecamm Beta 4.02 point something, 0.1 or 0.2, whatever the latest is, because they fix bugs. So if I just stayed on the regular one, 4.0, I'm going to miss all these bug fixes that they're doing, and they want us to test out. So I've been using Ecamm Live betas for years. They're very stable. They don't let them go out if they're junk. I mean, they miss some things once in a while, but that's fine. So we're going to talk about what's going on in the world of Final Cut Pro, and we're also going to drink some coffee this morning. If you drink coffee in the morning, it's morning here. It's morning on the Pacific coast. It's in the afternoon in Europe, but that's okay. You can drink some coffee. So, Europe, I think it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, at least in England, in the UK. Greenwich Mean Time, I think, is 3 o'clock. So how is that going on over there? Let me just check one thing. I am going to make sure the audio is working properly. Let me just check here real quick. Audio sounds fine. The audio sounds fine. I have to check because every once in a while there'll be some kind of a glitch. I have a little bit of a complicated audio setup. So every once in a while there'll be somewhat of a glitch. So we are going to be talking about Final Cut Pro. What's the week in Final Cut Pro? I've got some things that appeared on Twitter. I've got some things that appeared elsewhere. One of the things I wanted to mention, or just discuss, this is a discussion. This is everybody that's watching can join in the discussion. So one of the things that has happened recently, people have left Twitter and they went to Mastodon. And I have an account at both. First off, I'm not leaving Twitter. I've been on there for a long time, and I've met a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of resources on Twitter. I get my headlines there in the morning and stuff. I don't get involved in any of the political stuff or the hot button social issues. That's not what I'm there for. I'm there for post, and I'm there for video, audio, arts, animals, the cats of Twitter, the dogs of Twitter. If you have an animal rescue, I'm interested in that. So, but mostly for Final Cut Pro stuff. I mean, that's where I get the majority of my Final Cut Pro stuff. So I've been on Mastodon. Mastodon is not new. It's been around for 3, 4, 5 years. Since I follow Adam Curry and No Agenda Show, they've been doing a Mastodon server for years. But it's not the same as Twitter. Don't let anybody tell you that Mastodon is the same as Twitter. It's not. It's not. Mastodon is a bunch of little teeny servers, hundreds or thousands of them all over that somehow connect together. It's not like Twitter. Twitter is much more universal. Twitter is your worldwide. And you can ignore things you don't want to see. If you don't want to see politics, just block them out or don't look at them and stuff. That's what I do. I'm not there for any of the nonsense, any of the arguing back and forth and all that. I'm there for Final Cut Pro. A lot of friends on Twitter on Final Cut Pro. A lot of, I also do iFilmography and mobile journalism, and I have a lot of friends on there on Twitter. And I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. I joined Mastodon too, but I'm not going to quit Twitter just because some people think that you should, or they want to. That's fine. You can quit. I'm not quitting. So anyway, let's see what we got here first. Let's pull up some graphics here. So first off, we had our friend from Australia, Chris Hawking, who did the B-Raw Toolbox. And look, it's already gotten a big update. This is from Braden Storrs, the FCP editor. He's the admin over there at the biggest Final Cut Pro Facebook group. Look at all these things that it's done. Already. It's already gotten an update. Now, here's the thing. For me, I'm not shooting in B-Raw. I'm not planning on shooting in B-Raw. As a matter of fact, when I had Chris on, I am getting the Lumix 5S Mark II or 5S Mark II X that's coming out in May. I am going to get that full frame camera. It's the best. It's the first camera I've really been excited about in a while. So that's coming out in May. So I'll have it for the summer. It does raw output over HDMI. So I can shoot ProRes RAW if I get an Atomos recorder. But I can't shoot B-RAW, apparently, unless I get a Blackmagic recorder. So I'm not getting two recorders. If I get a recorder, it'll be for ProRes RAW. So I have no intentions of shooting B-RAW. But I want all of you that have B-RAW out there. I'm glad for the support. Final Cut Pro didn't provide it. Apple didn't provide it. Blackmagic would like to provide it for Final Cut Pro users, but I don't think Blackmagic does ProRes RAW either. So Final Cut doesn't do B-RAW natively. Blackmagic doesn't do ProRes RAW natively. So I wonder if that's the problem. They have to both do each other's RAW format natively, but I don't know. Who the heck knows? Anyway, Chris Hawking has, at least for the time being, solved the issue. Right? Hasn't he? Yeah, he has. So let's go over here. Back over there a second. I'm going to just check on one thing, okay? Hold on a second. I am going to allow something. Turn that on. Oh, I can't do that. Huh. Well, that's interesting. So I can't. Let me see if I can. Secondary display, primary display. I can't do that. That's interesting. I didn't do something that I should have done I didn't do something that I should have done before I started, and now I can't do it unless I quit and reopen Ecamm, which I'm not going to do because that would stop the stream. So I can't do something I was going to do. That's all right. I'll do screen grabs. And I do have videos loaded up. So let's talk about, let me just go to my checklist here. I have a checklist down here. So we talked about Chris Hawking. Actually, let me go back there. B-Raw Toolbox. I'm just going to pull this up. What I'll do is I'll do a screen grab. It's interesting. Open system settings. I've already done that. I've already done Ecamm Live. Now CleanShot X. Okay. That's interesting. I thought I already did all this stuff, but apparently not. Apparently not. Let me just go over there. Clean. Here we go. So here, where did it go? See, I didn't set everything up. Here it is. Let me just pull this over. Just bear with me 1 second. So let's go back over to the graphics. So here is Chris Hawking he's on my YouTube page. You can see him over there. And, yeah, he's over there. There we go. It's got almost 1,000 views, 914 views. He has it's a full demo. He did a full demo when he was on FCP TV Live, Final Cut TV Live, and it's got 900 and some there. I've got more views on other places on social media. So I was going to play some things. I was going to play some of the, I didn't set it up right. I can't show you my other screen without quitting Ecamm Live, and I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to do that. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about Ecamm Live, let's go over here and do this. So Ecamm Live can now do a multicam. So when I use Ecamm Live, I record isolated. Let me just pull this up. Hold on a second. Preview mode. Camera B. I'm just doing one thing. Cam link. Huh. Weird. That's strange, but let me try camera A. Hold on a second, please. Nope, still doing the same thing. I didn't realize I had to set up a different camera in each scene that I do, but apparently I do. So let me just do this. And I'm going to change the wide aspect ratio to a squircle and give it a little bit of, let me go there, a little bit of a outline. Huh. Isn't that interesting? There we go. Hold on 1 second, please. There we go. All right. So I just wanted to get myself on screen so you can see me talking. So all these things that are over here, Ecamm Live does multicam recording now. Everybody, all my guests that come in, it actually records separate video files. It's done separate audio files for quite a while. I didn't want to do that. Every time I move my mouse, that happens. It's weird. I have to lock it. There we go. Now it won't move. Every time when I bring in guests, it records each guest as a separate video file. So what I do is I take those video files, make a multicam in Final Cut Pro. If I want to do something in post, now I can do post switching rather than just the live switching. That's one of the things that I can do now. I really, really, really like that. How it does it, I have no idea. I have no idea how they do multiple video recordings, each guest. It records the main program recording. It records separate ISO recordings as it's streaming live. Right now, I am streaming live to 3 platforms. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All 3 are streaming live. And it does it, the program does all of this. And so far, it's been very, very stable. The recordings have been fine. They record in 1080p. I'm recording those ISO videos in 1080p. That's how I did Chris Hawking's video. He did a demo. The Aussies were on. He did a demo. It also recorded his screen. It's a separate video file. So I was able to take that, repurpose it, do a specific demo of him demonstrating B-RAW, and it worked out really, really, really well. All right, let's see what we got over here. I'm going to pull up the video. Let me see something here. Pull up video and check. I don't want that one. Let me do another one here. One of the things that I have when I talk to people about different iPhone apps, right? One of the things that I must have in an iPhone app, I have to be able to switch lenses, switch cameras while I'm recording. If your app can't do that, I'm not going to use it. Now, with one exception, I do use double take, but that's recording front and back cameras at the same time. But if your app can't record, if your app cannot switch cameras while I'm recording, I'm not going to use your app. And I buy all of them. I buy every single one I see, I buy to try it out for different things. Usually they're $5 or $10. Of course, Filmic jumped to $50 a year. I'm not going to do the subscription. I don't like their subscription model, just like I don't like Adobe's subscription model. But that's another discussion. So this is why I need camera switching. This is a little video clip that I did at the Creative Summit in 2019. I'm in the lobby, and I do 3 separate switches while I'm recording. If your app can't do this, this has been around forever, for a long time. I'm not going to use your app. This is the basic camera app. Switch once there, switch twice there. 3 separate camera switches while I'm recording. Watch that again. I'm recording. 1 switch there, another switch there. I have to be able to do that. I do that all the time. Not only when I'm streaming live, but also when I'm just regular recording. I punch in, I have 4 now, right? 4 on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. 0.5, 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. So I can switch in 4 different camera views, lens views, whatever, camera lens, whatever the heck they are. If your app can't do that while I'm recording live, for example, Filmic Pro. Okay, I'm in one thing. Oh, I want to switch lenses. Oh, I have to press a button. I have to stop the recording. I have to go into the menu system. I have to find the new camera that I want. I have to switch to the new camera. Then I have to start recording again. Ain't going to do that. I've lost 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds of a clip when I'm recording live. It's got to be able to switch live while recording. It's ridiculous that an app in 2023 can't do that when there's half a dozen apps that can do it, including the native camera app. But anyway, let's go back to, so here's something that's happened this week. Let's go back to here. This is the live camera once again. I'm going to go back and pull myself down here. Do this. I have a preview in program mode. I'm going to pull this up over here. Then I'm going to, let's see this off. So one of the people on the Final Cut Pro team left Apple this week. Dan, he said he's got a new job, lots of complicated emotions, but I'm back in the editor's chair, back in Chicago, and it feels great. This is what he posted publicly on Twitter. So I asked him, what did I do? I said, a resolve workflow, because I knew he was on the Final Cut Pro Apps team. Is that by choice, or is that what your new employer uses? Just curious, as I use Resolve sometime. I do. I use Resolve sometime myself. Dan said, we are using BMD cameras, Blackmagic Design cameras, and switchers for live streaming, so it's a logical choice. It absolutely is. I was just curious as to why he's going to Resolve. It was in place before I was hired. I really like Resolve, though, and looking forward to pushing it around. So many goodies on the color and fusion page for corporate stuff. Not only on the fusion page, also you have Fairlight, the audio page. And I think there's two different edit pages. There's a cut page and a regular edit page. So there's two different edit pages. One of those edit pages has a scrolling timeline, which of course I'm always interested in. I've been looking for that. I like to have a scrolling timeline in Final Cut. It's one of the things I'd like to see. Speaking of that, so here's Dan. Now, if you don't know who Dan is, this is his logged in platform. LinkedIn platform. He was the product marketing manager for motion and compressor at Apple, but he's no longer. So speaking of things that I want to see in Final Cut, this is one of I have a list of 100, but here's one. Checkboxes to allow custom settings such as spatial conform, create transition warning, timeline view, dual mono stereo, etc., to be saved as default. Because right now you can't save a lot of these settings as default. Every time you use them and you set them, you have to go back and reset them. So I like for example, every time I get this create transition warning, not enough media, every time I use that, it pops up. Thousands of times in the last 11 years? Probably. Thousands of times. I don't know how you like your coffee, but I like mine. I like the coffee strong. I use two big scoops of a very dark roast that's tempered with a medium roast. So the dark roast is triple threat, the medium roast is mocha java. So it tempers the flavor a little bit. Some people don't like it that, but I use strong coffee, 2 big scoops, but I put cream in it. So it's more like chocolate milk is when it's done. I don't like weak coffee. I don't like coffee that, I like good coffee. That's all. That's my thing. I like it. I was in Paris in the mid 80s with, if you remember the song Smoking in the Boys' Room by Brownsville Station. So I went to Paris with the guy that wrote that song, Cub Coda of Brownsville Station. He had a record contract in Paris in those days on, I think it was New Rose Records. So I was on the same, well, actually, I wasn't on the same label, but I was on a record label in Boston, and Cub mixed my first EP. Cub mixed it because the guy that was running the label in Boston said, hey, do you want Cub Coda to mix your EP? I said, sure, that'd be great. So I they flew me up there. We mixed my EP in, I don't know, maybe 8 hours in a studio. He mixed it. He did the mixing. And we became friends because of that. And one day, the label owner, his name's Dave Pierce, called me up. It was wintertime. And he said, hey, you want to go to Paris with Cub? Cub's going over there for the record, promote the record. It was like December, January. I said, I don't know. It sounds like a lot of work. He goes, what else are you doing? And I said, that's true. I'm not doing anything. I was off for the winter. I was working construction, but I was off because of the weather. I said, all right, we'll go. I'll go. So I went over to Paris with Cub Coda. And the first night we get there, we sat in a cafe 4 hours, 5 hours, drinking cappuccinos or cafe lattes, whatever the heck. I think they're cappuccinos. We were buzzing, and we were just chatting and chatting and chatting. Anyway, that was my first experience with really, really good coffee. Now, back in the mid-'80s, they didn't have... Good coffee was not that available in the United States. So when I came back, I went on the prowl and looked for it, and I really couldn't find it. This was pre-Starbucks and stuff. And Starbucks has good coffee. They have some good roast. People associate Starbucks with just their house blend, which is a bitter blend. I don't like their house blend, but they have Colombian and they have other blends. So they don't have just one blend, but people associate that bitter house blend with Starbucks. That's not the same. They also do lattes and all those sugar-filled drinks, whatever the heck they are. They're more like desserts. I don't get any of those. But I do like lattes. Double espresso shot and a latte with half and half or cream, whatever they got. So what else do we have here? So let me just pull this up since we... This is some NAB 2022. I was just around the booth. And that was their booth. And I'm planning on going back to NAB again. I'm planning on going back. It's 60 days. Today's the 11th. It's the 16th. April the 16th is a Sunday is when it starts. So I'm going back. And I'm going back for one reason. Let me pull that up. One reason. Let me see what I got here a second. And I'll show you why I'm going back. Here we go. I'm going back for Final Cut Pro. I am going back to NAB to look for anything Final Cut Pro related. In 2016, I went to my first major Final Cut Pro event, and that was the FCPX Creative Summit in Cupertino. So I went to that, and that's because Sam Messman got me involved. He was like the liaison between me and Future Media Concepts who put that on. So I went to 2016, the Creative Summit. It was a great summit. Fantastic summit. They introduced 10.3 the day before. They introduced the new MacBooks at the time. And then I had Sam on Final Cut Pro Radio. He was on the very first episode of Final Cut Pro Radio. So I had him on, and he said, hey, you going to NAB? And I said, no, I'm not planning on it. He said, well, you should come to NAB. So I said, okay, how does that work? And he goes, I'll get back to you. So he got back to me. And what happened was LumaForge, the company he's CEO of and sponsor and was involved with for years, they sponsored me to go to NAB. That was 2017. So they sponsored me for 2017, 2018, and I think 2019. They sponsored me for 3 years. Paid for the hotel rooms and stuff like that. So that was very, very cool. This year, I have another sponsor. I'll be announcing it once we reach an agreement, once we finalize things, but I have another sponsor or two to NAB because it's expensive. It's $1,500 to $2,000 for me to go to NAB. So I get sponsors. And so anyway, Sam LumaForge sponsored me to go to NAB in 2017. So I went there in 2017, and I went there in 2018, and I went there in 2019. LumaForge sponsored me all 3 years. And then COVID hit, and they weren't sponsoring anybody. As a matter of fact, they sold their company to OWC. So there's no more LumaForge by itself, standalone. They're a subsidiary or whatever, a department of OWC. Now, they'll be there, and I will interview. I've already talked to Ronnie Cortins. I'll interview Ronnie, and I'll interview Sam if he's going to be there. I presume he is. We'll stop by for interviews while I'm at NAB. But the reason I'm mentioning this, the only reason I go to NAB is because of Final Cut Pro events. So they had an event in 2017. They had an event in 2018. They were on the Faster Together stage in 2019. Apple was promoting Final Cut Pro. So all 3 of those years, Apple was involved actively in NAB. But even if they're not, then they weren't in 2022. Last year, they were not involved actively, but there were people from the Final Cut Pro team at NAB. So even if there's not an actual Final Cut Pro event, an Apple event, I will still go around and look for things that are Apple involved, not Apple involved, that are Final Cut Pro involved. If there's Final Cut Pro on the screen, I'll stop and talk, and I'll interview people that are involved with Final Cut Pro at some level, even if Apple is not. I don't know what Apple is doing this year. I put some feelers out, trying to find out if Apple is going to do any kind of presentation. Now, people say Apple hasn't been there for blah, blah, blah. Nonsense. They were there in 2016. They were there in 2017. They were there in 2018. 2017 and 2018, they were in the convention center doing an official Apple Pro Apps Final Cut Pro presentation by the Pro Apps team. 2019, they were on the LumaForge Faster Together stage doing a presentation on the stage officially as Apple. Officially as Apple's Final Cut team or Pro Apps team, whatever they want to call it. So they've been there. They were there in 2016 across at a hotel. LumaForge wasn't in the convention center in 2016. They had the Renaissance Hotel. They were there. They were doing demonstrations and stuff. Apple was there, whatever, promoting Final Cut. They were involved with that. So they've been there for a lot. They didn't show up in 2022, but one of the other things that are happening now is Apple's having a virtual event on campus. In-person virtual event this year. So that's bodes well for the fact that maybe they will have another virtual. Let me just pull that up. Here we go. I'll pull this up. This is on appleinsider.com is where I saw this. All right, let me pull that up. There it is. There it is. So here is, hold on one second. Here is the Apple Insider event. Their article talking about, turn coffee off, talking about Apple to hold first in-person summit in years focused on AI. So Apple begins to ease its COVID policies. The company has decided to hold its annual internal AI summit in person, which could mean the company may soon return to traditional media events. So that's very cool. That was on Apple Insider. That's very cool. So my point is that if they're going to do in-person events, WWDC, they're going to have a spring event probably to introduce a new Mac Pro, maybe something update to the studio, Mac Studio, who the heck knows? Maybe a new display. I've heard different things, different rumors about that. Let me just adjust this real quick. I'm off center a little bit. My microphone was there, back on center. So that'd be very good. That'd be very good. Mostly interested in intro of Mac Pro, either NAB or WWDC months later. That's correct. So at NAB, I don't think Apple would introduce, I think they would probably introduce the Mac Pro at a spring event like they did the Mac Studio last year. But my thing for NAB is that's the place. Look, we're due for an Apple Final Cut Pro update, right? We are. We absolutely are. As a matter of fact, I've named it. Let me pull this up here. I have named it. Let me see. Where did I put that? Somewhere here. Oh, I know where it is. It's on my other. Let me just hold on a second. I'll pull it up here. I have named the Final Cut Pro update that's coming next, and I'm hedging my bets. I am hedging my bets. Let me pull it up here. Here. This is the next Final Cut Pro feature update. 7-11. Final Cut Pro 10.7 or Final Cut Pro 11. That's my, people have been saying, I've been saying 10.7. And people say, what about if it's going to be 11? Well, it could be 11. Who the heck knows? Who knows what they're doing? Eric says, you mean overdue? Yes, absolutely overdue, just like the Mac Pro. Yeah, the Mac Pro is 2019. I have one. I'm going to see if I can sell it locally. And yeah, it's overdue. It's been way overdue. I mean, it's been overdue since 10.5, so that's been like 3 years. So yes, it is overdue. But I think Final Cut Pro update is better around NAB, not WWDC, because NAB is a broadcast industry from around the globe. It's not just Final Cut Pro. It's not just Apple. It reaches a lot more people if they update it around NAB. Now, they can do it a week before. They can do it the morning of. They've released ProRes RAW in 2019, was it? 2019, they released, I think it was 2019, I'm pretty sure. They released ProRes RAW like Monday of NAB. Now, you can't tell me that's not intentional because it absolutely is. So we're due for 10.7, 7-11, whatever it is they're going to call it. We're due for a feature update. Not for the small ones like 10.5 and 10.6. There's a couple of features. I mean, 2022, we got 2 features. The entire year, we only got 2 features. Okay? That's not enough. We need more. We need a big feature update to boost Final Cut back into the forefront of things. So maybe that's going to be 10.7. If it's not, I'm not going to defend them. They have to stand on their own. They get their own comments and criticisms or accolades. They earn them themselves. But I'm thinking, hoping 10.7 is a big update, big feature update. If they want to call it 11, I don't care. That would have to be even bigger because at some point 11's coming, obviously. It's been 11 years, 12 years, June. 12 years in June. So we'll see what happens. But I'm saying NAB, between now and NAB, there'll be I mean, there could be a bug fix. Logic just put a single bug fix update out. It was kind of bizarre. At least that's all they listed. There could be a Final Cut Pro bug fix update at any point. I don't know. But I'm saying a feature update for NAB. Doing it for WWDC is not as powerful for Final Cut Pro because WWDC is Apple-centric. It's the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference. It's only Apple, Apple, Apple. It's also not Final Cut Pro, not Final Cut Pro-centric. NAB is video editing, film editing, television, cameras. It's very specific for professionals from around the globe, not just Apple people. So it's a much bigger market. That's the place to do the Final Cut Pro update, around NAB. Now, I would be very pleased if Apple does one of their 2017, 2018 presentations like they did in the convention center, official in the convention center. They did these presentations. That would be great. That was with Noah Cadner's group, FCP Works, and I think Steve Martin was involved, helping set up. Speaking of Steve Martin, so Steve used to put on the FCPX Guru Gathering at NAB. Now, it's expensive, it's a lot of work, and he didn't do it in 2022, but he did it in 2017 and 2018. "2017 was at the Hard Rock Cafe in Vegas, and 2018 was at a restaurant. Was 2018 or 2019? Maybe it was 2019. 2019, I think it was. That he had it at a restaurant. They had fajitas and stuff. They were cooking them. I have some video of that I'll play at some point. Put together a few clips for NAB. But anyway, I go to NAB for a single reason. I enjoy it, for one thing, but for looking for Final Cut Pro related stuff. Now, this year I will be stopping at the Panasonic booth because I am getting a Lumix S5 Mark II X. S5 Mark II X. It's not coming out till mid-May, third week of May. So if I order it at the beginning of May, I might get it in June. I presume I'll have it for the summer, and then I'll have it. I haven't been this excited for a camera for a long time. This is exactly what I want. It's a great price point. The only downside is I have to go to the L-mount lenses, but it's not that big a deal. I was going to switch to Sony anyway because I want to go from my GH5 to, which is micro four thirds, to a full frame camera for better low light performance. So that's what's going on there. What else do we have? Let me see. Do we have anything else on graphics wise? So there's the Final Cut Pro update, feature update. Oh, here's one more thing. Here we go. Let me see here. Oh, Alex, our friend Alex, 4D, had a thing this week. Where is that? Here we go. So Alex said, yeah, Alex went to work for, if you want to work for Apple's hardware team, good morning. Good with working in Culver City, LA County. Apple's Pro Workflow team needs a forward-thinking creative with extensive experience in post-production video workflow. Now, let me just see. Did I actually pulled that up. Here we go. I actually pulled that up. Careers at Apple. Let me see if I can put it up here. If I can or not. I cannot. Let me do that again. I haven't completely set up my new partition yet. Here we go. So here's the actual job posting. Look at this. Interesting. Pro workflow video expert. Look at what it says down below there. 5 years of post-production experience with the specific focus on video editing, workflow, and finishing and on Windows PCs or workstations. Expertise in one of the industry-leading NLEs such as Premiere Pro. Now, Apple, you can't put Final Cut Pro first. You put everybody else is first in this list. You can't put Final Cut Pro first. Final Cut Pro is last in this list. Look, Premiere Pro, Avid Media Composer, Blackmagic, DaVinci Resolve, or Final Cut Pro. Well, they said Final Cut Pro X, but it's actually just Final Cut Pro now. That's wrong too. But here's what else I wanted to show you. They list the oh, this is interesting. Pay and benefits. It's pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Let me pull that up. Which it would have to be in order to, it would have to be good because, let me turn this one off. Look at this pay. Base pay, $115,000 to $177,000. Not bad. That's the base pay. You also have stock options and things. So if you want to move your family to California now, you're going to have to because it's very expensive to live in California. So that's one of the things I think they're doing. The reason they do that. But it's a great job, it looks like. So does the buy once, get updates forever hurt Final Cut Pro development? Not enough money for the Final Cut Pro team to do what they want to do? I don't think that is a problem. I don't think that's a problem because they continually have new audience. They continually have a new users. Apple announced 2 million seats in 2017 of Final Cut Pro. A year later, had 500,000 more. In 2018, they had 2.5 million they publicly announced. 2019, 3 million plus or minus. They didn't announce that. I'm just guessing. During the COVID thing, they gave a 90-day trial. It might still be available for Final Cut Pro for people that want to use it. 90 days? That's a long trial. That's a long trial. As a matter of fact, you can actually renew the trial for 90 days to another 90 days to another 90 days. I think every time they do an update to Final Cut Pro, you can get a new trial. Something like that. I don't know. No, I bought it on day one. I bought it June 21st, 2011 is when it came out. And I was working on the Final Cut Pro 7, but it came out. I bought it the first day. I've been using it ever since. But the thing is, new people are always being exposed to Final Cut Pro. iMovie's free. If you get used to iMovie, you can move into Final Cut Pro. And so is always a new audience. The other thing is, Eric, is new Macs. You buy new Macs to go with Final Cut Pro. So though you may not buy the Final Cut Pro app again, you are buying every so many years, you buy a new Mac to support the Final Cut Pro because Final Cut Pro requires, good hardware and stuff. So let's just say 4 million. Okay, let's just say 4 million. At $300 a pop, that's 1.2 billion with a B dollars. that Final Cut Pro itself brought in, just for the app itself, 1.2 billion with a B dollars. So they certainly have money there for continuing to support. Now, here's the thing. At some point, like when they go to Final Cut Pro 11, they could charge for that after all these years. They could charge for that. They could, I'm not saying that they will, but they certainly could. They could maybe give people who bought Final Cut Pro 10 a discount. Maybe it'll be on sale for a couple of days or a week when it goes on sale. If you want to get it now. But there's no reason why Apple cannot charge for a major version like Final Cut Pro 11 when it comes out. I'm not saying they will. I'm not convinced that they will, but they could. It's in their terms of service that they could charge for any upgrade after 10.1. And of course, Apple does what they want to do. So they could just charge, if you have Final Cut Pro 10, you get the new update for $100, something like that. The original was $299. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think 11's coming in anytime soon. I think that's coming in the future. But who the heck knows? It's in the last 3 or 4 years, it's been, when we went to Cupertino for the Creative Summit, FCPX Creative Summit in 2019, it was disappointing. There was no update to Final Cut Pro. But the summit itself was great. It was fine, talking to the team and all, but it's nicer when they had, in 2016, they had 10.3, 2017, they had 10.4, 2018, they had 10.4.4. All those updates were major updates. They were all centered around the Creative Summit. 2019, zip. Nothing happened around Final Cut Pro. So this year, you know what? I think they're going to go back to Cupertino this year. I don't know that for a fact, but I think they will open that back up as long as everything's stable in the world and, things are fine for having big events. I think they will go back to Cupertino in the fall, in November of 2023. Even if they first off, here's what I suggested to them. Kick off the Creative Summit in Cupertino with a multi-day event like you always did. 3 days. Training. Everybody has a great time. People from around the world come around there for that event. And then, but this time, have a virtual component. In person, for people who can afford it and can get here, meet up with people, have events. But the classrooms, the sessions, have a virtual component. So people who can't make it or can't afford it from around the world can watch. They got to pay a fee, $100, $200, whatever they want to do for the entire package, but you get to watch the presentations, somewhat be a part of their community. When I'm there, I'm going to be streaming live and filming the entire time. So I'll be doing that. I'm not going to film the presentations. That's not what I'm there for. But the behind the scenes things, gatherings in the lobby, I will film short segments of presentations so I have just a clip if I need it. That's one of the reasons I want the low light camera. That's one of the exact reasons that I want the low light camera. When I was filming, when did I film? I filmed in 2016, 2017, and 2018 and 2019, 4 years. When I went into the presentation rooms, it was dark. And whether it's a GH5 that I had or my iPhone 12 Pro Max, it comes out grainy, so I have to take it in and try to clean it up. But that's one of the reasons I want the low light camera. Now, not every room. When I filmed in 2016, they had a major introduction presentation and stuff. That turned out fine. That was a GH4, I think. That wasn't even the GH5. So that turned out fine. But anyway, I'm going to get the Lumix S5 Mark II X. That has better low light than my GH4 or GH5. So that's one of the reasons I'm getting it. I should have it for next year. If they have the FCPX Creative Summit again in Cupertino. And I think they will. Not positive, but I think they will. Anyway, Final Cut Pro at NAB. That's what I'm looking for. Final Cut Pro events. Could Apple be there? Yes, they could. They could. On the show floor, not like they were in the past, but they can have an official Apple Final Cut Pro presentation in one of those classrooms that Future Media Concepts has. That's what they did in 2017 and 2018. Official Apple Final Cut Pro. The team was there presenting. Steve Martin presented. My friend Jeffrey presented one of them. Other people presented, talking about the current state of Final Cut, et cetera, et cetera. So they have done that in the past. Something like that would be very, very cool. Free to get in. You just have to register. They were always packed, maybe 300, 400 people. So that's what I'm looking for. So these seem to be popular, right? You enjoying these? Let me turn that off. Are you enjoying these? Final Cut Pro and coffee on Saturday mornings. This is episode 2. So as long as people keep coming to them, the last one has like 700 views across YouTube and Facebook. Facebook has 400 some views, Facebook Live. I think YouTube has 200 plus, and then it's on Twitter as well. So as long as you enjoy these, I think I'll keep doing them on Saturday mornings, regular Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, just to do catch-up. Just to do catch-up what's going on in Final Cut Pro. As a matter of fact, is there anything else I'm missing before I sign off here? Maybe there is. Let me see if I have something else here. Was anything come out new? Was there a new plugin this week? I don't remember. I mean, B-Raw was last week, so that's not it. Oh, I see. Once again, I can't. I wanted to mention this. See if I can get that to come up here. I'll take a screen grab. Let me just wait a second here. I'll pull it up here. All right, I'll pull this up. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is talking about if new plugins come in. That's cool. For the week, we'll talk about those. But this is a really good tutorial that I saw this week. So if there's new tutorials, it'll be the same thing. Dylan Bates, the Final Cut Pro, met him at NAB last year. I presume he's going to be there again this year. He has a new tutorial out on his YouTube channel. Let me see if I can get this to go down. There we go. Turn this one off. It's multicam editing in Final Cut Pro, beginner to pro. So he has a very good tutorial on multicam editing over there on his YouTube channel. Just look up the Final Cut Pro. Dylan Bates is his name. So that's one of the things that I'll be doing on these is I'll be looking for new plugins for the week. Any Final Cut Pro news of the week, new tutorials of the week, anything that catches my eye, and I'll just gather them together during the week and I'll present them here Saturday mornings, 10 Eastern, like I did today, and we'll go from there. As long as people keep tuning in, and we've had a good crowd today. As long as people keep tuning in, I'll keep doing them. Let's just say that's how it's going to work. Now, here's the other thing. I may not get the chance to do them every Saturday, but my goal is to do them every Saturday. I'm going to try to come on here. Sometimes might only be a half hour. Okay? But I'm going to try to come in every Saturday, regular time, Final Cut Pro and coffee, of course. you got to drink your coffee. So my coffee's a little cold, but I like warm and hot coffee anyway. So anyway, as we get closer to NAB, there'll be more news. I'll be bringing some more news for you. If I hear anything about NAB and Final Cut Pro related stuff, I'll tell you about it when I can. Okay? I can't always tell you when I find out about it, because if the source of information doesn't want to talk about it in public, I'm not going to talk about it in public. Okay? So I have different sources, different places, friends, acquaintances, professionals, and sometimes I can talk about things immediately and sometimes I can't. Got another comment here. Have you seen the new OBS horizontal to vertical feature? It's Atrium called Vertical. I've seen something about that. Final Cut Pro, I mean, if I wanted to edit vertical, I would do it in Final Cut Pro. You can record both horizontal and vertical simultaneously in OBS. Okay, here's my question. I always hold my camera like this. Rarely do I film like this. The only time I film like this is if the subject matter is tall and skinny and it makes no sense to do this, then I will film like this. When I do Instagram little short videos, I film like this. But how do they get a vertical? They just slice it out of the center, I guess, right? Is that what they're doing? Are they using a separate camera somehow? Are they flipping? I don't know how they're doing that other than just the way I would do it in post. Yeah, I saw that. That's fine. Now, here's one of the things about the Lumix camera. Panasonic cameras in general. I have a 4x3 open gate frame. 6K frame that films internally inside of the Lumix line of cameras. 6K wide, I don't know, 4,500, 5,400, whatever the heck it is tall. 6K wide. If I'm going to repurpose video to vertical and landscape, that's what I'll be using. As a matter of fact, I may switch over to 100% filming 6K open gate, they call it. It records the full sensor. There's no, narrow 16:9 aspect of the sensor. They record the entire sensor, so you can move it around in post. You can if you want to put a mask up and move it around different places. But if I want to do vertical video, or I think I might want to repurpose something I'm filming, that's what I'll be filming in when I get the camera. I'll be curious how they do that in OBS. They're taking the center section out of a horizontal video. I mean, if you film this way, vertically, you can't effectively get a horizontal video out of it, right? Matthew says, you can set up your logos, your screen recordings, your multi-webcam. All you would have to do in Final Cut is add captions or music. Yes, that's very cool. Absolutely. So let me just see something else here. So one of the things that I learned about, let me see if it's here. One of the things I learned when I'm going through my MacBook Pro, setting up different sections for different operating systems and stuff, is, let me see if this is it. Yeah, there it is. So one of the things that I learned, let me just put this back on preview mode, is and is that shift? Yeah, that's shift. I'm just doing something I'm going to show you here in 1 second. I'm doing it in the preview window, and I'll I'll publish it in 1 second. This is a little, oh, let's do that. Okay, publish. So I got this little logo that I've been toying with here, Richard Taylor, that I'm messing with. Back to live mode. There we go, back to live mode. So my logo is right there. It's fine. Everything looking good. I can adjust the opacity of it in Ecamm. I can adjust the size, etc. So I'll probably put this on my live stream. So when I go live, by the way, I've canceled my Restream account. I won't be doing Restream anymore because I can do multi-streaming in Ecamm. Okay? I can do multi-streaming in Ecamm, so I quit Restream, which was $300 to $400 a year. It's been very effective and very nice going forward, but right today I'm doing Ecamm. So I do it right in Ecamm. I'm Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All three of them are live. So I don't have to worry about it. It's, it's the Ecamm subscription is less than the Restream subscription for me. I'm a legacy user. When I'm live, I also can stream to multiple platforms. But I used to go to Restream, but I won't anymore. I don't use Ecamm there's no Ecamm for the phone. It's only for the Mac Pro. So that's one of the reasons that I'll take my MacBook Pro with me to NAB. Anyway, everybody, thank you for stopping in. Don't forget to subscribe over there. There's one of my promos. Here's another one. Subscribe. Go there, ring the bell, and subscribe over at my YouTube channel, Richard Taylor TV, of course. Everybody, you'll know that if you don't know it so far. And I'm going to get off here for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been very enjoyable for me to come here on Saturday mornings and do these. Is there anything else? If you have any questions or anything, somebody mentioned something this morning or this week about if you detach audio, do I have another video? Let me check one more. How many people have these? Who remembers these? I remember them. Let me do this. Let me do that. Turn that on. Select this. And select a different shape. Squircle. There we go. How many people remember these books? I got rid of all these. I've had them for years and years and years and years, and I get rid of each one. A lot of knowledge I got out of those books over the years. Lots of knowledge. There's subscribe. So let me do one more thing here before we go. Graphics. There's Dylan. One of the things let me see one more thing here. Hold on 1 second. I thought I had another one. Nope. Let me go here and find it. I know I have it down here. So there was a question on the forums about relinking. If you detach an audio clip, how do you can you reattach the audio? So I just chimed in. This is how I do it. Select the video clip in the timeline, Shift F to reveal in Finder, reveal in browser, Shift F to reveal in browser, and then that clip will be the exact same in and out point as the clip in the timeline. It'll be exactly the same. Set your playhead at the beginning of the clip in the timeline and just overwrite the browser clip into the timeline. And if you do that, it'll bring the audio with it. So it's not quite reattaching the audio, but it comes back down with the video and the audio clip, both. So that's my little tip of the week. If you didn't know that, some people were saying do a compound clip. No, you don't have to do that. Just Shift F to reveal in Finder. And once you get the clip with the selection in the browser, not Finder, I keep saying Finder, reveal in browser. Once you'll get the clip with the same in and out points as you have in the timeline. Once you get that selected, just drop it back in the timeline and it'll have the audio with it. The original clip, if the original clip had audio. Right? I think we're good. Anything else before we get out of here? One of the other things that I want to do, because this is for you guys and gals that are watching. If you have questions about Final Cut Pro, if you're having a problem about Final Cut Pro, save them up during the week, write them down, come on online here, and we'll see if you have an issue or a question, I'll see if I can answer it. If I can't, the community might be able to answer it for you. That's the other thing. So that's something else we'll be doing. So we'll be covering new plugins, new tutorials, any Final Cut Pro news, anything other kind of news, some post news or stuff. We'll talk about that, industry news. We'll talk about NAB until it's here and gone. And we'll talk about if you have an issue or a problem, bring them here. Hopefully, we can't go into extensive, troubleshooting, but if you have a general question, I'll try to answer it for you. If I can't, maybe somebody in the audience can. And we'll go from there. All right, everyone. My name is Richard Taylor, as you well know, and I'll see you on the next Final Cut Pro TV Live. Let me turn that off and turn this on. Over there on YouTube, Richard Taylor TV, of course. Subscribe over there on YouTube. Until the next one, next Saturday. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to only do Saturdays. I have another interview coming up with an app developer who has a new version of his app out. We're going to bring that up maybe next week. And anytime there's any breaking news on Final Cut, if there's an update to Final Cut, I'll be back on the YouTube Live channel, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. But I'll see for the time being. I'll keep doing these Saturdays. They're not that labor intensive for me. Other companies have, dozens of people working for them, 3 and 4 people, this person, that person. I'm by myself. I'm doing this by myself. So I've been doing it for a long time. Final Cut Pro Radio has millions of downloads, the podcast. The latest episode was the Final Cut Pro Aussies came back on. That was the latest episode. It's very, very popular. And in the meantime, let's hope for a new Final Cut Pro update between now and NAB. Final Cut Pro 7.11, 10.7 or 11, 10.7 or 11. Thanks to the Final Cut Pro team. Please get us a good update with lots of good features that we've been asking for. I'll talk to you all later. Thanks for tuning in, each and every one of you.